So next up, we will be moving on to Samira Sunderji. She is an undergraduate honors kinesiology student at McMaster University. Her interest in the pre-med field stems from her younger sister, who was diagnosed with celiac disease at the age of 1. Her passion for advocacy and research in immunology is met with her love for the exercise and rehabilitation sciences. Recently, she has had the opportunity to work alongside the AIC in authoring books about the COVID-19 pandemic. Here's her look into the role of salt in COVID-19.
Hi everyone, like Zach mentioned, my name is Samira and I'm an undergraduate student at Mac, and today I'll be discussing the role of salt during COVID-19. So again, this summer I was given the opportunity to work alongside a number of students across Canada and of course the AIC in authoring a book focused on salt during a pandemic. And at first it did seem to be some unusual type of topic with almost no correlation to a pandemic. However, I felt that I learned more than I expected as I wrote chapters for this book. So it really was fascinating and eye-opening to just realize how a simple household and kitchen ingredient proves to me more important now than ever with COVID cases continuing to rise on a global scale. So just a quick overview of what today's presentation is about. I'm first going to be speaking about salt in like a general sense and about its multifaceted roles from various perspectives, and then I will dive right into salt from a COVID-19 context. So as we know, the COVID-19 pandemic has really been the global health crisis of our lifetime, with millions of people worldwide facing so many of its adverse effects, as we've already talked about with several other panelists. So from a research perspective, scientists and researchers from various backgrounds around the globe have united and are uniting to discover vaccines and other preventative methods that can be used by ourselves as the general public to protect ourselves against COVID-19. And I really do believe that as each research study is approved and done, it really does pave the way forward for finding potential cures. And scientists are discovering new solutions and treatments for this virus with the hope that it will soon be eradicated or at least contained. So this was an actual book chapter, a part of the book that I wrote, along with a couple other people, that focused on salt's multifaceted roles as an essential cooking ingredient, an antibacterial agent, and now its new role in a COVID-19 context. And it's quite surprising to say that it is a top contender in the race to find viable treatment options, as we will further discuss today. So salt is an effective food preservative as it reduces water activity by drawing water out of foods. Several disease-causing microbes are also unable to grow in the presence of salt. As a texture aid, salt has the ability to strengthen gluten structure in yeast-based breads, and in a lesser-known role, it can also be thought as a color enhancer for processed meats, as it prevents these products from turning into a bluish-gray color. In one of its most important roles as a nutrient source, salt helps with fluid balance, transmits nerve impulses, contracts and relaxes our muscles, and maintains the proper balance of water and minerals in the body. According to an article published by the Harvard School for Public Health, it is estimated that we need about 500 milligrams of sodium daily for these vital functions. Salt is the dominant source of both sodium and chloride in the human diet and is a vital source of electrolytes. Chloride ions also regulate blood pH and blood pressure. So we can already see how salt really does prove its worth as more than a cooking agent. And from a COVID-19 perspective, I'm going to be talking more about saline, which is a mixture of salt and water. So normal saline solution has a salt concentration similar to what we as humans produce as tears and other bodily fluids. So the solution does not sting or burn when it's applied to a wound and can be used in a number of different ways, such as rinsing out your contact lenses, nasal irrigation, and even saltwater gargling. According to the Journal of Athletic Training, normal saline solutions are gentle on our skin. It does not irritate it in any way, and it doesn't do any further damage to healing tissues. It doesn't alter the bacterial flora responsible for repairing damaged skin and wounds. And as a overall, normal sterile saline solutions are the most appropriate and preferred cleansing solution used by almost all medical professionals worldwide, as it is a non-toxic solution that, does not damage any healing tissues and is still effective with minimal pain. So this leads us into the first study that has been taking place at the University of Edinburgh. So a pilot trial completed prior to the actual study called Elvis indicated that a hypertonic saline solution used for nasal irrigation and saltwater gargling reduced the duration of coronavirus upper respiratory tract infection by an average of 2.5 days. The pilot trial revealed that epithelial cells are able to produce an antiviral effect with the production of hypochlorous acid, which is actually an active ingredient in bleach, and it also produced chloride ions that are found already within salt. So these two products naturally occur within epithelial cells to clear viral infections. And again, with the uncertainty surrounding coronavirus and its mechanisms, a lot of researchers are unsure whether or not nasal irrigation and saltwater gargling will have the same effect as we have seen in other strains of like the common cold and the flu. However, it could provide a better insight into what treatment methods can actually alleviate and relieve some of these symptoms that we see for COVID-19. So the study, the Elvis Study, is conducted online and requires participants to complete a questionnaire to ensure that they fit the criteria. They must also sign a consent form. However, they can withdraw without any reason at any time. Following this step, any eligible participants will be assigned to one of two groups, the experimental group or the control group. And this is a double-blind randomized controlled trial, which is considered to be the golden standard for experiments where neither the researchers nor the participants can anticipate what group they are assigned. Based on these randomly assigned groupings, emails were further sent out detailing your group and your next steps. If they were assigned to the experimental group, they were asked to perform the nasal irrigation and saltwater gargling up to 12 times a day for 14 consecutive days or until the symptoms were alleviated. If assigned to the control group, they were just asked to continue with their normal healthcare routine and to not perform the nasal irrigation or saltwater gargling. And again, to keep track of their symptoms, both groups completed an online diary and questionnaire for 14 days every morning or until the symptoms again were alleviated, just to document any changes. Following those 14 days or until a follow-up questionnaire asked participants about their home environment, if any other members had COVID-19 or exhibited some of those symptoms and more. As an added precaution, they were also advised to abide by their government recommendations and guidelines on hygiene and social distancing. Again, this trial is still ongoing as they have different stages, so hopefully soon we'll be able to see if we'll get some good results out of it. And on the other side of the globe, kind of close to home for a few of us, Canadian researchers at the University of Alberta are in the process of developing a salt-coated mask designed to prevent the spread of pathogens and microorganisms. Its purpose is to increase the effectiveness of regular surgical masks by adding an additional layer of protection against airborne viruses. Common surgical masks may provide a small layer of protection, but Dr. Choi, a chemical and materials engineering professor at U of A, states how improper handling of these masks can easily increase the transmission. Due to the complex and again unknown nature of the coronavirus, innovations such as the salt-coated mask have paved the way forward towards potential cures and also treatment options. As an overall, normal staring, sorry, one second. As an overall, like hopefully it is the hope of Dr. Choi that these type of masks will help in the future. Again, it is aimed to kill any type of viral particles that could otherwise survive on our common surgical masks that we find for up to a week. So he does explain in a recent news article that when this virus-carrying water droplets fall on the surface of the mask, the salt will dissolve and the water will begin to evaporate. And again, during this evaporation process, salt crystals will begin to form and actually destroy the virus. So trials for this salt-coated mask have been ongoing since 2015. However, his team's efforts are, again, more important now than ever. His team has tested this coating on 3 different strains of the influenza virus, all of which became inactive within a 30-minute time span of being exposed to the salt surface. And again, it is their hope that this product will be soon manufactured with an expected release date between 12 to 18 months. Going to another country, in Jamaica, a country with less than half of the government funding and research facilities in North America, one of their top medical practitioners, Dr. Dawes, is also suggesting something similar to that of the salt-filtered and salt-coated masks. Dr. Dawes and his medical colleagues have been experimenting with table salt and everyday absorbent materials that could be used as a disposable filter this time. Materials included coffee filters, napkins, and toilet papers that were soaked in a hot water solution, then dried, and then within 30 minutes, results showed how it could effectively kill any virus that came into contact with it. Again, the salt crystals reformed during this drying process, and the sharp edges of the salt was able to cut through the outer coating of the virus on contact, giving them the ability to kill the virus within 30 minutes. The process of making these filters are a simple and cheap alternative, and also hopefully effective if worn on the inside of cloth masks. He is strongly recommending the use of the salt filter and hopes it will decrease the transmission of COVID-19. Going back to the University of Alberta, actually, they are also partnering up with a startup company to prevent the spread of viruses and viral infections through high-touch surfaces and facilities, such as door levers and handrails in hospitals and clinics and long-term care homes. So Outbreaker Solutions is an Edmonton-based startup company that have patented a self-sanitizing antimicrobial surface based on compressed sodium chloride, also known as CSC. This durable surface can be installed on almost anything that is frequently touched by hands or other objects and kills microbes in minutes, whereas other commonly used surfaces retain them for hours or days. So Braden Whitlock, the Director of Research at Outbreaker Solutions and PhD candidate at U of A's Department of Physiology, said, "We as the public are now starting to realize that the vast majority of infections are spread by our hands and the air. And hopefully this will become a more important field as we learn about infection control, and it's being forcibly accelerated by our current pandemic." Outbreaker Solutions have partnered with Dr. Pang, a professor in the Department of Laboratory Medicine and Pathology and program leader of microbiology at Provincial Public Health Laboratory in Alberta. So combining forces on Pang's expertise of her team's researchers focused on virology and also Outbreaker Solutions, their products and their monetary support, both parties are convinced that their innovations could drastically alter and potentially decrease transmission rates. The overall purpose of this project is to provide an additional layer of protection, and the proposed idea would not force people to change their daily behaviors in any way, and requires no extra maintenance or cleaning. Furthermore, as we all know, there are no approved drugs or vaccinations that, directly prevent the transmission of coronavirus, nor are there sanitizers or disinfectants that have the ability to completely inactivate the virus. But if this product does have a positive effect, it would be an ideal and effective material to coat layers on hard surfaces, again, in high-touch facilities, such as schools and hospitals and long-term care centers. And again, while the study requires more funding and time to advance their research, the goal is to take their innovation to public settings as soon as possible and cater to larger markets and products such as hospital bed rails and public transit handrails. Again, in conclusion, salt's multifaceted roles as an essential cooking ingredient, antibacterial agent, and mask coating has continuously shown to be beneficial and favorable in a variety of settings and situations. However, its versatility proves to be more important now than ever, with COVID cases continuing to rise on a global scale. Alongside medical practitioners, researchers, and scientists, it is our hope that these studies on salt's effectiveness as a mechanism to protect ourselves proves to be vital in the race to find a cure. If you have any questions, I will make sure that I have that PowerPoint up and ready. Again, so sorry for the technical difficulties, but I'm open to hearing your thoughts. And if you ever want to discuss anything about salt and COVID, hopefully our book will be published and ready for viewing soon. And I would definitely say that is worth your time. Thank you.
Thanks again, Samira. That was excellent. Jess asks, Samira, are there resources on using household salt for fighting COVID? And if so, could you maybe talk about them here and then post them in the resources text channel?
Yeah, for sure. So that's actually a great question. I feel like for like common colds and like flus and everything, we've always said like saltwater gargling is like really helps like soothe the throat and everything. So again, one of the things I spoke about today in the presentation was that like different concentrations of saline solutions can hopefully help alleviate some of those COVID-19 symptoms. So that is definitely one big thing that is being done and could be used like at home, like you're able to make your own saline solution. So I can definitely put those resources into that thread there. And then if you definitely want to take a look at it, maybe like try and implement it, see like what you think of it, that would be great. And I guess obviously let me know if you did try it.
Awesome, thank you.